All right, my beloved Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid. Okay, it had to be Man City. It had to be Man City. This was kind of written in the stars. It was sort of predestined. This is like quantum entanglement, okay? We're like connected to this club. I don't know how or why, but I think deep down, every Madridista on earth knew that we would end up getting City. Okay, we have a lot to discuss in terms of the Champions League, the matchup against City, where the squad is, and realistically, how we can fare in La Liga and the Champions League. And I want to go over this discussion, and I want to do it with Dali FC, a very incredibly nice kid. I think you guys have probably come across his channel and his content. I really enjoy discussing this stuff with him. I encourage all of you to sort of subscribe to his channel. A very nice kid. So we have a lot to discuss. This is the moment of truth. This is where the rubber hits the road. There is no more messing around. We're going to be tested by proper, very competitive teams. So there's a lot to discuss here. Okay, I want to share all of my thoughts with you guys in this chat with Dali FC, which I really enjoyed. So without further ado, the rubber meets the road. What's going to happen? Here's my chat with Dali FC. Let's get started. All right, beloved Madridistas, welcome back. I'm super excited to have this chat, and man, do we have a lot to talk about. And I'm absolutely delighted to have this special guest. Dali, I'm a massive fan of you and your content. First things first, how are you doing, brother?
Doing very well, mate. As always, appreciate you. Whether you're jumping on my channel or in this time, hopping on your channel, always a great time with you, mate. So very much appreciated. Hopefully, maybe this year we can be doing this live in person in front of the Santiago Bernabeu or something. So hopefully soon, but as always, mate, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to it. It would be so much fun to go to a match together and record some stuff. So that's on the table, and I'm sure that'll happen one of these days. I'm looking forward to it. Now, okay, we have to jump right into this because look, as a Madridista, whether you look the blessing and the curse of being a Madridista is that whether you like it or not, you always have hope, because this is a squad that historically has performed some of the most extraordinary miracles in football history, and we've done it with a frequency that is completely unique to Real Madrid. And we know that on paper things look really bad, but it's that little glimmer of hope that we can't kill, So let's just jump into it first. Okay, we got stuck with City in the draw. What's your initial reaction to that?
Are we even surprised? I mean, Courtois came out and said it. He said, we already know this is a formality. This is inevitable. Yeah. And I'm not surprised. I think we've played them every single season except since 2020, except for 2021. And we've already even played them this season. So I'm not surprised. This is a tough draw for Real Madrid, though. Man City, especially, even earlier this year, we lost to them, unfortunately. No Mbappe in that one. But they've gotten better. Semenyo has come in, been very good since he's come over from Bournemouth. They have Guehi now, who I wanted to be coming to Real Madrid. So it's kind of annoying that we're going to have to be facing him. But tough draw, mate. Tough draw.
Yeah, and I know, and I don't think it helps that we have to play, the first match in Madrid, and that would be. I think that's the case as well if we get through, and then the other pairing would be it's Bayern Munich and it's Atalanta, I believe, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Do you any thoughts on that? Who goes through?
I would guess Bayern Munich. Yeah. To be honest, I think Bayern Munich. Honestly, they would be my pick to win it all right now. If I had to be picking somebody, I think they're in very good form. I think them or Arsenal's probably the normal favorite pick going out, but I would probably give the edge to Bayern Munich right now. And so for Real Madrid to have to beat City, and then probably Bayern Munich, if we can get by both of them, I don't know why number 16 shouldn't be coming home, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, if you can get past City and you can get past Bayern Munich, I mean, at that point, you have to believe, right? I mean, you would have to believe. Now, in terms of play, and there's so much discussion about, what's going on, what we're doing right and wrong, and it's been such a roller coaster year. In terms of the matches against Benfica, what were your thoughts in those matches? How do you think we did?
So interesting playing them 3 times. Now, the first one, my least favorite of those, obviously, getting smashed in that one when a goalkeeper scores on you never is a good time. Now, I do think Real Madrid, I think we did a lot better. I think going to Portugal and defeating Benfica the first time, even though it was 1-0, that was, I was chatting with you about it. I was actually happy overall with the result. Now, granted, I want more goals, obviously, but in the last one that we just had, Tchouaméni getting on the board, Vini Jr. getting on the board. I think Vini's in fantastic form right now. In my opinion, I think he's the best left winger in the world as of today. Now, a lot of things we need to be doing better. I still think, even though we have individual, very good players in the midfield, we need to be pressing more and playing quicker football out there. I think that's something I want to be seeing. And then also, man, we're just giving up way too many chances to these teams that really don't deserve it. And so that back line is just, it's worrying. What do you think, though?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And we're conceding. I think we look soft defensively, and also I'm a little bit concerned of some of the chances that we're missing up front. I mean, if like the last 10 minutes of the first leg in Lisbon, man, in those last 10 minutes, Vini had a couple of amazing chances, and Kylian had a couple of absolute howlers that he missed. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. And defensively, I do think we're kind of weak as well. The Mbappe injury is a little bit of a mystery because he had that knock on his knee, but he continued to play. And what I'm hearing that apparently it's something that will require surgery at some point, but we're kind of trying to push it out and see if we can manage it until we get to summer. But yeah, no, I agree. Defensively, we're a little bit soft. We're also missing a lot of chances up front. So in terms of like what our greatest weakness, so we're soft defensively for sure. Any other weaknesses that sort of stand out to you?
I think a big thing for me is like set pieces. Whenever a team has a corner kick, free kick against us, I'm always nervous. I don't know why. I feel like we're like mistiming our jumps when it comes to it. We're missing people. We're not man marking correctly. I think that's a big area of weakness for us, as well as I don't like the 4-4-2. I think you're so much relying on individual brilliance from either Vini Jr. or Mbappe when he's been out there. I prefer a 4-3-3. Now I understand you're missing a midfielder out there, but I don't know. I just think you're asking so much for both of them to do everything when it comes to attack. And so I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean that's an interesting point. And who would you play on the right? I'll confess and I'll come clean right away. I'm really frustrated with Mastantuono. I'm really frustrated with this kid. He's starting to really get on my nerves. If you played a 4-3-3, who would you play on the right?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I mean, we look at who was available against Benfica. We had 4 attackers available. It was Gonzalo Garcia, Vini Jr., Brahim Diaz, and Franco Mastantuono. And in my opinion, I think both of those two, the Brahim and Franco, are 10s. I don't think they're actually right wingers. Same thing goes with Arda Güler. I think he's a 10. And so currently, I think this is kind of our options. I don't really want to be seeing Franco getting a start, especially against Manchester City. Brahim Diaz, yes, he did very good over there in the AFCON. If Rodrigo is healthy, I want Rodrigo to be starting, especially against City. He always has a heyday with them. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, he loves playing against them. He always seems to score. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Another thing so if you play a 4-3-3, and I wonder why they haven't experimented with this is, what if we tried playing Kylian as a right winger and Gonzalo as a 9? I mean, why? I don't. We've seen it during the course of play. We've seen Kylian go to the right for like a couple of minutes. But I mean, is that something you'd like to see? Is it worth trying?
I would be open to it. To be honest with you, I would still rather see Mbappe at the left wing. And I understand I just called Vini Jr. the best left winger in the world. I'd still like to be seeing Mbappe coming in from the left wing. Now, I do think that we need to be having a presence in the box, though. I mean, that is a huge issue with Real Madrid. We're crossing the ball. We're getting those opportunities there. Nobody's crashing. Yeah. And Mbappe, that's one of the faults with him being the 9. He doesn't crash the box. Now, I'm probably giving him an excuse because I'm like, he's been dealing with an injury. He doesn't want to get a knock, doesn't really want to be getting physical and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's been here a year and a half. He hasn't really been doing that. So that's the same thing. I'd be very much open to Mbappe at the right wing, though.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be worth experimenting with. But you're so right, because in the last couple of videos, it's something that I did mention is that Kylian, like when he doesn't touch the ball enough, he has like this need to touch the ball. So he'll come out, he'll come back, and then when he goes out of the box just to, touch it once or twice, but then he's not in the box. And then by the time you get across into the box, where the hell's your number 9? And yeah, that's been a real source of frustration. And I don't know. I'm curious why they haven't experimented with Killing on the right and Gonzalo in the middle, just to see if it works.
Well, even when you mention that, the interesting thing is we've seen Gonzalo Garcia come on in games, but he's playing at the right wing. I'm like, why are you having your center forward at the right wing? And that's the only time Mbappe is like, yes, now I will play in the 9. Now I will be central when Gonzalo is on. So I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a little bit messy. And to make things even messier, what do you do with Jude when he comes back? I mean, it's a really, I know it's a trick question, but I mean, what are we going to do when Jude comes back? Because Arda has been playing the 10, although sometimes he drifts to the right, and I think Arda is probably a natural 10. Tchouaméni has been doing a good job in that holding pivot position, and then you've had Kama on the left and Fede on the right. Like, so where would you put Jude? Would you sacrifice Camavinga and stick him on the left, or would you play with a double pivot? I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. What should we do?
It's a tough question. I think Jude would get in immediately if he's actually fully fit. I think Camavinga is probably the easiest one to take out. Yeah. And I actually like Camavinga coming off the bench sometimes. It's nice to actually have decent option when it comes to the midfield coming off the bench, other than, I mean, look at our options right now. Now, I'm excited about him, but Thiago Pichart, I'm excited about the guy. He's 18, but Danny Ceballos is hurt right now, so you're dealing with a lot. I think Jude would probably come in, left center mid. Yeah. The guy likes to be the 10, though. He likes to crash the box. That's one of the good things, though. You know that he's going to be crashing the box. And so I probably think left center mid, though, if we're still doing the 4-4-2.
Yeah, that's probably the most, it's probably also the most kind of politically convenient thing to do, because there are sort of ramifications for sitting certain players. I mean, if you sit Kylian, it's kind of a big deal. And there are some players that you feel that management kind of wants them to play all the time. And I think it makes it hard for the manager. I think Camavinga would probably be the easiest thing to do. But then you would have Jude kind of on the left. And I've just never been a fan of Jude playing on the left. I like it when he drifts to the middle and plays that 10, false 9, and he's very effective at it. But then he's stepping on sort of Arda's toes, So, yeah, it's a tricky one. I agree with you. It's probably the most convenient thing to do, but is that where we get the best out of Jude?
It's tough. Like, that's the thing with Jude. I think he doesn't have a specific position that he's just like defined to, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think he's like a DM. I think he can do a little bit of everything, right? And very well as well. Now, I think Camavinga might be the first choice. Now, at the same time, could Arda? I've rated Arda. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Arda. I could also see that Jude would be coming in for maybe Arda. And so maybe the midfield's Jude, Fede, Tchouaméni, and Camavinga. And then maybe Arda's coming off the bench to give us that kind of spark that we need later in the game, that creative player. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that would also be kind of that would probably be the most, from a footballing standpoint, maybe the most natural thing to do. But it would be politically more sensitive than the Camavinga swap, because Arda is a player that I think the club is very invested in his progression. And I think one of the reasons that we didn't renew Luka Modric was because I think management felt that his presence was impeding the progress of Arda. So I think that it probably makes more sense football-wise, but it might be politically more delicate to sit Arda than to sit Camavinga. Yeah, I think I do agree with you. I do think that Luka. That I actually thought that last season too. I wanted to be seeing Arda more last season, and Luka Modric was getting a lot of starts out there. Now, I said something on my channel, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Everybody is assuming that Nico Paz is going to be coming back this summer. What happens with Nico Paz? Because this guy is arguably the best player over there in the Serie A right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the guy is going to be coming off the bench regularly for Real Madrid. I think he's going to be coming in and demanding minutes now.
Yeah.
Who would be sacrificed for that? Number one would probably be Arda.
Now, from what I understand, he's been playing sort of the 10 position in Como. Yeah, I mean, well, this is the duplication problem that we keep running into, is that we keep bringing players who are very talented. We buy them either because they're young and talented or because they're like a big brand like Kylian. But we keep bringing players for non-sporting well, they're good players, but they don't fit. And then we end up with duplication problems, and then we end up having to move the pieces around. If Nico Paz comes, that is massively problematic. And what are you going to do now? Now you have Arda wants to play the 10, Jude wants to play the 10, Nico Paz wants to play the 10. That would be very, very messy. And I honestly don't know how on earth the club is going to manage this. That would be very tricky, because of the three, who would you start as a number 10 between those three? It's
tough. Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of Como. I think I probably watched 70 to 80% of the games. Okay. And I've heard people before said, Nico Paz is going to come in and he can be the deep line playmaker. You're not watching Como. That's not what he is. He's honestly more of like almost a false 9 at times. He's played almost the striker, but he's the closest thing to a 10, and he's a goal scoring machine for Como right now. And I understand Serie A, Como is completely different than Real Madrid, completely different. But I think that he's fantastic. I honestly could see him starting, and maybe Jude's the one playing a little bit deeper. And Arda's the one who gets sacrificed now. I don't want to be saying that, but I don't know. Yeah, no,
I'm with you. These are decisions that are very tough, and they're not decisions that we should be having to make, because and then kind of the same thing happens with the left wing. Everybody wants to play on the left wing, but only one player can. And we've discussed this before, that you bring in players and you're duplicating positions, and it makes it impossible for the manager. Yeah, that's a very good question. When Jude comes back, I think that the convenient thing for Arbeloa to do will be to stick him on the left and continue to play Arda as a 10. If he does sit Arda, he's going to get a lot of stick. If he lets Jude play where he wants to play, which is the 10, I think there will be a big segment of people that will criticize him for that. We've put ourselves in an impossible situation. We really have.
Yeah.
Well, look, on that note, on the issue of duplication and strategic mistakes, I'll ask you point blank. Was Kylian's arrival in Madrid good or bad? That's a really tricky question. It's a loaded question.
Loaded question for sure. I mean, you put me on the spot with it, but no. Was it bad? I mean, we haven't won anything. I think that's the biggest thing. All right. So as of now, I think it's pending. I would say it's been bad overall. Now, individually, he has performed very well, and I don't blame him for everything. But when we have to talk about him coming in and just transfers in general, is Real Madrid winning? Are we winning La Liga, Supercopa, Champions Leagues? So far, no. But it's also 1.5 years in so far. We're still in 2 competitions, whether it's La Liga, which we're 1 point behind right now, we're neck and neck, you never know, and then Champions League, which we just talked about against Man City. I would say no right now, but I don't blame that on Kylian Mbappe fully. Right. I do think that, like you mentioned, we have a duplication problem. We have 3 left wingers on the team. We have like 4 10s on the team. We're adding another 10. And so the strategy that we've done, we haven't done the best like sporting job out there in terms of planning. We like these players, which I'm sorry, any team that says Kylian Mbappe, you can get him for a free, you just have to pay the huge signing. You're doing it. The guy was arguably the best player. He's still arguably the best player in the world when fully fit. And so far, no, but I still hold out a lot of hope. I think we can be better. The issue, I think, with Mbappe, though, mate, and you tell me if I'm wrong, who can actually tell this guy what to do? Because so many of us, when we're watching him play the striker position, he's not actually playing the striker. I pulled it up the other day comparing his shots compared to Harry Kane and compared to Erling Haaland. He has 0 goals inside the 6-yard box in La Liga. Yeah. Because he's not playing like a striker. So
yeah, I don't know. That's a really, really good point, because he does know how to finish plays. Like, he's a good finisher, but he doesn't like spending time in the box and just playing a more static traditional number 9. He hates it. He loves the ball at his feet. He loves to take on defenders. He loves space. He loves to run free and use his speed. And asking him to play a more confined number 9, it's just not in his DNA. So yeah, I agree with you. It's sort of seriously problematic, and it's very hard to think of how we're going to get out of this, because there are so many situations, like you say, where the ball goes into the box and where's your number 9? It's just so frustrating. So, all right, we have all these duplication issues. What do you think is sort of fundamentally missing in terms of, either offensively or defensively? Like if you had to say one thing that's kind of missing in the squad, what is it?
Deep line playmaker. I think we need one bad. Now, I'm hoping we can address that this summer, but we have to go get a proven commodity when it comes to that. I don't want a project. If we were going to do a project, start playing Thiago Peachurch more. I want to see the guy, right? Yeah. I know we've been linked to like Keith Smith over there in the Dutch league, but I think it's going to be like 60, 65 million, and the kid's 20, 21. I'd rather just see what we have from an academy product already. Yeah. Or go get me somebody big. I'm talking like a Vitinha, which I don't think is likely, but that would be like my dream target. Now, the issue, though, with that, we're talking about getting Jude back into the lineup. Obviously, if you got Vitinha, you'd figure out a way, but who would be the midfield?
Yeah,
that was it.
That's No, we're stuck in a real predicament, and this is entirely self-inflicted, because we brought all of these players, and we didn't think about how the pieces are going to fit. And I agree that I think Vitinha, because if you compare Vitinha to sort of Arda or Jude, Vitinha is a lot more mobile than Arda, like in terms of progressive carries. I think he's better at sort of carrying the ball and dribbling and forward. I think Arda's probably a better passer, maybe. But I think Vitinha is more dynamic. But then again, if Vitinha comes, by the way, I agree with you. That would be my number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. But who the hell do you sit? Yeah,
I mean, and we're talking, I don't like the 4-4-2. So I only want 3 out there. And so, man, it's tough. Like, because I would assume Tchouaméni would have to be out there as a DM. Yeah. I don't know how you bench Jude, so I believe Jude would start. And then if you brought Vitinha in, you'd be starting him. So then we're benching Fede, who is the captain. Oh my God! Because I believe Carvajal will be leaving. You were benching Arda. Yeah. You were also benching Camavinga, and then Nico Paz. So I have no idea.
It's a disaster. And like, this is what I mean by politically sensitive. How can you sit Jude Bellingham? I mean, after all the money that we paid, and after the first unbelievable season that he had, we know what he's capable of, and we know how much the club has invested in him. Are you really going to sit him? Yeah, it's tricky.
I don't think so.
what a mess, man. I think being manager of Real Madrid right now is such a difficult task. I really feel for Arbeloa. Do you think, in terms of La Liga, what do you think our chances are? Do you think we can pull this off?
I think we can. Now, I will say I think we're starting to get things stacked against us a little bit. Mbappe's now out for a little bit. I was like 65% Barca, and then it would be 35% Real Madrid just a couple weeks ago, before we actually took the lead that we now have bottled, unfortunately. But that was before Mbappe was hurt. Yeah. That was before knowing that Jude was going to be out a little bit longer. So, like I said, we have a lot of things going against us. Now, Vini, fantastic form right now. Can he continue to be doing that? Because he needs to be kind of carrying us the rest of the way. I think we have a more difficult schedule than Barcelona. We also have to go to the Camp Nou. Yeah. So I'm still probably leaning Barca. I very much hope I'm wrong, though. What do you think, though? Do you give us a chance?
No, I agree with you. I think that, I want to believe that we can do it, but I just don't think, I don't think Barca's playing that well compared to sort of last year, but I just don't see them dropping more silly points. It was a bit of a wake-up call for them, the last defeat, and now they saw that we slipped up, and I think they're going to be very focused. I have a hard time seeing Barca losing a lot of points, and I hate to say this, but I struggle thinking that we could beat them in the Camp Nou. I think given where we are right now, football-wise, Even though Barca isn't doing great, I just don't see us beating Barca in the Camp Nou. And I agree with you. I'd probably have to do about 65% Barca. I'm with you on that one. And okay, another thing I wanted to ask you, because we haven't spoken in a while. Who's your sort of favorite player in the squad right now? Who do you think is making the most positive contribution?
It's actually it's the same person for me for both those. My favorite and the one who's actually the one contributing most, and the one, in my opinion, who should actually be the captain is Thibaut Courtois. I think the guy is unbelievable. I think he's the best goalkeeper in the world. He constantly is saving us time and time again, game after game, moment after moment. I love when the guy speaks. I think he speaks the truth. I think being the captain, it would be very difficult. I mean, we know that Fede would be out there, et cetera. Vinny would actually get it over him too. But I think he's the only one who's like a vocal leader out there. I think he's actually saying it how it is and doing that. But I think he has performed incredibly well. I think he has saved us times from dropping points, getting all 3 points at times. I think he's performing very well. And I appreciate everything he's doing on the pitch, off the pitch. I just don't think he's like really putting a foot wrong right now. Who would you say?
Yeah. No, I think, by the way, I completely agree with you. And I don't know why we neglect him, because he's a goalkeeper. We tend to sort of mentally disregard them. I think that Courtois, you can definitely make an argument for him, and everything you say makes sense. I would probably say, in addition to Courtois, I'd probably also say Fede. I think Fede has become such a vital player, and kind of, the 2 goals that we scored, in the Benfica match, those both came from Fede passes. He has such great awareness. He's so present in our offense, but so important in our defense as well. He really is everywhere. He brings so much energy to our play. His decision making is really good. I just think he's one of those like comprehensive box-to-box players that brings you so much, covers so much ground, and he's so consistent. He plays almost every minute, never gets injured. It's like, knock on wood.
I was doing the same.
I know, right? It's like, because my God, we would miss him terribly if he were injured. And he also has, he's a soft-spoken, mild-mannered guy, but he does have leadership DNA in him. He's like one of those guys who's a leader, even if he doesn't want to be a leader. He just has a DNA about him that I think just projects leadership, even though he's quite mild-mannered and soft-spoken. So I would say Courtois and Fede, in my view.
Yeah, I think Fede, especially as of late, I mean, him and Vini have really got like a Arbeloa bump. I'm not sure if it's Arbeloa. Honestly, I'm not giving too much credit to Arbeloa for it. But maybe it's the fact that Fede is now playing not at the right back. But at the same time, the guy is everywhere on the pitch. He is covering for Trent when we need him defensively. He is being an assist machine. He even got one over the weekend against Osasuna, which was not a good game, obviously. But he got one there. He got 2 for Vini. He's been incredible as of late. So I think that's a great call.
Yeah, and he gives 110% every match. He runs so much. He's one of the players that gives the most in every single match. And so let's look at the flip side of that coin. Who is who's your least? Who gets on your nerves these days?
There's a lot, unfortunately, right now when it comes to that.
I know it's a long list.
I'll be honest. There's multiple who are actually annoying me a little. I think the biggest one right now, and he's unfortunately for him, he is injured. I think would be Dani Ceballos. Yeah. I think the fact that he teased us that he was going to be leaving. I was like, okay, to Marseille. You teased us. I was like, finally, we're going to get him off the books. Maybe we can go get somebody else. Maybe in the January transfer window. Doesn't do that. Comes in and he gives you those glimpses in like a little bit of hope sometimes where you're like, okay, like he looks good today. And then he'll do something where he just betrays the team. It's a horrible pass. He gets injured, like stinker and injury the other day for him, unfortunately, in that game against Osasuna. So he's somebody who gets on my nerves. There's a couple other players too. And I hate to even like say it, but like Carvajal, to be honest, like I appreciate everything he's done at the club.
Of course.
He's just done though. Like I watched him the other day and I was like, dude, you can't play anymore.
Yeah. I remember when he had that horrible injury. I remember, talking about it with my uncle, and we're like, when he comes back, how could he possibly be the same? He's coming off a horrible injury for a whole year, and the guy's 32 years old, and he plays right back, which is a very demanding position physically. You need to be in tip-top shape to play right back, and I agree with you. He looks a little bit slower, like a little bit, he even looks a little bit, and this is controversial and I could be wrong, but he even looks a tiny bit heavier to me, like a little bit, I don't know, and a little bit, like a touch slower. So yeah, I'm not sure that he's able to sort of start a big match from the first minute. I agree.
Now, I was going to ask you, when it comes to the summer, I'm excited about the summer overall. I think that Endrick should be coming back. I think Nico Paz. I would assume that Real Madrid is going to go get the next World Cup star, whoever that may be, whatever country that may happen. It seems to be just part of the history of Real Madrid. I was looking at the list the other day, and I was like, yep, if they ball out in the World Cup, they're probably coming to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be leaving Real Madrid this summer? Do you think we get like a mass exodus this summer?
Man, that is such a good question, and you really are putting me in the hot seat, because whether we like it, look, first of all, Ceballos, I think his contract is over, so he's gone. There's no way in hell.
I think one more.
Oh, he has one more year. Okay, well, I stand corrected. In that case, I would love to see Ceballos leave. The other day, but I mean, I've been saying it forever. He dribbles too much in dangerous spots. He risks the ball. The other day, he came on the pitch. He lost an incredibly important ball in attack, and 5 minutes later, he lost an incredibly important ball in defense. He ruined the match in 10 minutes, and then he's injured, and then he goes home injured. Like, what? Wow, what a contribution! So Ceballos, I think Ceballos has to go, and then we have duplication problems, and we need to admit that we have duplication problems. So one of the, whether we like it or not, one of the big ticket items is we're going to have to. So would it be Arda? Would it be Jude? Would it be Vini? Would it be Kylian? I don't know, but could you make an argument for getting rid of one of these guys? Yes, you could make the argument. Now, does it feel counterintuitive to let one of these guys go because they're unbelievable individual talents? But we have massive duplication problems. So if either one of these big guns has to go, or we don't bring back the Nico Paz, and we don't bring back the Enriques, and so something has to give. If you bring Enrique back and Nico Paz and you keep everybody we have, what's your starting lineup?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the thing with Nico Paz. One of the reasons why I do believe he'll be coming back, his valuation is crazy, and the buyback clause, I think it's like 11 million is what our buyback clause is, and the guy is probably worth 70 to 100 million right now.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
So you 100% bring him back, and if you need to sell him in a year because he's not playing, maybe you do that, especially if the guy goes and has a very good World Cup. Because I don't believe, you can tell me if I'm wrong, can you bring him back in the summer and then flip him again? Can you do that?
You can bring him back and sell him. I mean, you could bring him back and then just decide that you can purchase him back for whatever the number is. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, he's 100% yours. You can do whatever you want. You can send him back out on loan, or you could sell him in the market if you wanted. I think technically you could. I don't think there's anything stopping the club from doing that. Would it make sense to do it? I don't know. But I mean, something has to give. I mean, another player, look, Ceballos could leave, and that would, make me very happy. I think Mastantuono should go on loan. Mastantuono should go on loan. He's the guy that should have gone to France, not Enrique. And Enrique, I think, is good enough to play, even to start in Real Madrid. I don't think Mastantuono is, not right now.
Do you think Endrick, though, because when we brought him on from Palmeiras, it was to be a striker.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a true out-and-out number 9. I think he might link up better as like a second striker. Or do you think he kind of converts more to the right wing? Like, what do you think his future is?
Well, I think what he's showing us in France is that he has the speed and the dribbling and the technique to play as a winger on the right. and then he has the goal scoring instincts when he's in the middle, and he knows how to finish. So what he's doing in France now is playing as a sort of right winger that gravitates to the middle, and that's what I think he should naturally play. So even if you start him as a winger, he's a player that can drift to the middle and finish plays. But I agree with you that playing as a static number 9, as a sort of Harry Kane, kind of Lewandowski type role, I don't think that that's Enrique's natural habitat. I think he's a winger / 9, a little bit like Kylian, a little, maybe less so like Vini, but he's a winger / 9. He's not a pure number 9. But I would much rather have Enrique on my available to me than Mastantuono, for sure.
Do you think Franco actually goes out on loan? Because I think it would be very beneficial for him. I was so disappointed because the potential that this guy has, the fact that he's, I believe, like the youngest player ever to get called up to the first team for Argentina. Like, we're talking Argentina. We're not talking a super small country.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
We're talking about them. Yeah. And very good for River Plate. He's coming to Real Madrid. He's been disappointing. Even the other day when we saw the subs against Benfica, I rated Thiago Picharch way more. And if I say his name wrong, is it how do you say the guy's name? Pachalos, whatever, the other academy player?
Oh, Palacios.
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 I rated him more than the guy we went and spent 50 million on in the summer.
I know. I totally agree. Mastantuono has been so disappointing, and it doesn't have to do with his quality, because sometimes if you look at some of his control, some of his first touches, he's good. He's really good. Some of his first touches are beautiful, and you can tell that he's talented.
Yeah.
But his decision making is terrible. It's like, we know that you're talented, and we know, but his decision making of when to take people on, or when to circulate the ball back to the middle, or to pass it back, is terrible. Like, he'll be in front of 3 or 4 defenders, and he'll try to take them on when he has 2 people available. Now that, to me, is just time and maturity. So if there's one player that would benefit from going on loan, playing at a high level, more minutes, and learning, just getting more experience in terms of the flow of play, would be Mastantuono, without a doubt. So I think he should go on loan. I think Ceballos should go on a nice holiday, and I think Mastantuono should go on loan. But that doesn't solve all of our problems. I mean, that takes care of some of it, but it doesn't take care of all of the other duplication issues we have.
Yeah, I was going to say the 3 players who are out on contract as of today are Carvajal, Alaba, and Rudiger. Those are the 3. Yeah. Do you think any chance any of those guys stay?
Well, Rudiger, I think, still has enormous value.
I see one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he still has enormous value because the defensive line is weak. It's old. It's either too old or too young, but it's still a little bit soft. We need to reinforce the defensive line. But Rudiger, even if he can't play every minute of every game, because I don't think he has it in him physically, but he does bring you a huge amount of presence and a huge amount of experience, and he inspires confidence. I mean, when Rudiger is starting, he inspires more confidence than Hausen. He just does. I think he inspires a little bit more confidence than Asensio. Asensio, plays a few really good games, but then he has a couple of games where, you kind of question him a little bit. So, but whereas Rudiger, I don't know, I just feel he brings a lot of experience and consistency, and he's a bit more dependable, I think. So Rudiger, I would like to see stay. Carvajal, I don't think, I think Carvajal can give you 20 or 30 minutes if a game is under control, and you want to rest Trent or whatever, but I don't think Carvajal is a starting right back anymore under pretty much any circumstance. And then who was the third one we were discussing?
Alaba.
Oh, Alaba. Alaba has, in the few minutes that he's played since he's come back, he's been surprisingly good. I think, the amount of headers that he cleared in Lisbon, he's a player that I think in the few minutes he's played, I think he's been okay, but you cannot count on him to be a starter. Absolutely not. I think in terms of age and coming back from those type of injuries, he's not a starting center back for me.
I was going to say, unfortunately for us, though, I think he's going to be against Manchester City. What's your thoughts though about that though? Like who do you want to see in that lineup? Like who do you think Mbappe will be available? Do you think Jude? Is there any chance like Jude would be back for that one?
Well, I'm not sure that Jude will make it back. I don't think he'll make it back in time, which makes me answering your question easier because it's a little bit of a cop out. Because it would have been a lot tougher. But Jude, I don't think is going to make it back in time. Now, I think I would play a 4-4-2. I know we disagree on this, which is fine, but I think that against Man City, I would play a 4-4-2 because Man City is very, very good on the ball. They're very good in possession. They know how to press the ball. They know how to take it off you. They're very skillful. They have everything. If in terms of raw talent, they have everything. They have technique. They have power. They have speed. They have a monstrous number 9. They're a very dangerous team. I would play a 4-4-2 because I think we need an extra body. It's not the kind of game where you want to go balls out offensively and leave a lot of gaps in the back. I don't think you can take that risk against a team like Man City. I would play a 4-4-2, and it would be at the moment the 4-4-2 that we have available. So I would play Tchouaméni as the pivot. I would use Kama on the left, Fede on the right. I would use Arda as the number 10, assuming Jude is not around. And then I would only play with Kylian and Vini up front, assuming that Kylian is available. And then in the defensive line, Carreras for sure, Trent for sure, and then the center backs, whoever the hell's available. Yeah, that's where we are. So that's what I would do, which I know is a little bit conservative and a little bit guarded and cautious, but that's probably what I would do because I think Man City's is not Alaves. You got to be very careful.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at who we actually started against them before because we had no Mbappe the first time around when we lost 2-1. It was Vini Jr. up top, Gonzalo Garcia. In the midfield was Jude, Tchouaméni, Ceballos got the start, and Rodrigo at right mid. Fede at right back, Raul, Rudiger, Carreras, and Courtois. That was actually one of the games that we actually saw Endrick coming off the bench. It was Arda, Brahim, and Endrick coming off the bench in that one. Right. So, little different. Having Trent, maybe, the Trent-Gonzalo connection, I could see that benefiting. If Vini and Fede continue to be on very good form, plus Tchouaméni. I think the guy was fantastic. He was my man of the match the other day against Benfica.
Absolutely.
I thought he was a monster.
Yeah, he was the best player on the pitch. Yeah.
So,
he's been very,
I'm encouraged. I think that just the thing with 4-4-2 is I just think we limit scoring. I do think we have a lot more control when it comes to the midfield. And so I guess at the end of the day, as long as we get the 3 points, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I just think you're like inviting pressure too often against some of these teams. When we faced off against Barcelona in the Super Cup final, I hated how we played. I was like, if you watch these games where Barcelona's losing, these teams are going at them. I think that's what Real Madrid needs to be doing now. Yeah. Against Man City, I guess we'll see.
No, it's going to be a tricky one. And with Man City, you never really know what you're going to get because, they've played really, really good games against us. They've also played really, really terrible games against us. So it's kind of hard to know, but the tension level would be unbelievably high. It's one of those type of games where you don't want to make a single mistake. I think it's going to be very cagey. It's not going to be kind of balls out football where both teams are attacking. I think it's going to be really slow and cagey, Yeah. But do you think? Well, let me ask you this: do you think we get past them? I'm asking you really tough ones today. You're never going to want to come on again.
I'll be back. This has been a great time. Great time with you, my guy. I appreciate it. I do not think we get past them today. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. I want to be wrong when I say that. I'm just that's my honest thoughts. I think City has a legit shot to actually win the Champions League. Yeah. To be honest with you, I think that Holland hasn't been in the best form as of late, but Semenyo has been incredible for them so far. And then they've also, here's the thing. They got this guy, Nico Riley, the 20-year-old for them, who's starting to been balling out. And then the thing for me, too, they're a different beast when you have Donnarumma at his best. I think Donnarumma is a top 3 goalkeeper in the world when he's on his day. I think it's going to be tough. Is Mbappe playing or not? If Mbappe's playing, is he even fully fit? Is he healthy? Are we rushing him? Yeah. I just have a lot of question marks right now. Yeah. What would you say though?
Yeah, I think my brain agrees with you. My heart still has that ridiculous Real Madrid hope thing that we talked about earlier. But if somebody held a gun to my head and said, you either get it right or I blow your brains out, I would, if I had to bet, I think City will probably win. Unfortunately, I'm with you.
I was going to ask you though. So you're going to be at the first game though in the Santiago Bernabeu.
Yeah.
If we can pull out a win, if we win the game 2-1, 2 whatever, we win the game. How much more confidence do you have going into the Etihad?
I would say a lot, because Real Madrid is a team that knows how to suffer. It's an expression that we use a lot in Spanish. You have to know how to win the Champions League. There will be matches where you have to learn and know how to suffer. And Real Madrid is a team that knows how to suffer. It's like watching a boxing match where, a boxer's just taking punches, and they're just kind of waiting for their moment. And exactly, and I think Real Madrid has that. We know how to just take the punches, and then if they don't manage to hurt you when they get the chances, we're a team that will stab you in the heart. Because if Real Madrid is a team that if you don't put us away when you have the chance, you're going to pay the price. And in terms of DNA and historic legacy and the character of the squad, just in the DNA of ours, we are a team that knows how to suffer, and we know how to take pain, and we know how to manage matches. We know how to play like crap and still win. And I think we've demonstrated this at the Etihad on more than one occasion, where we've been against the ropes, but we know how to deal with it. And then when we have our few chances, we take them. So if we are in a position where we can try to control the match that way, I think our chances would improve enormously, because we know how to take the punches and then look for our opportunities on the counter when we get them. So my mind could change if we have a favorable result in the Bernabeu. It's just a shame that the return leg isn't here, because that's when the real magic happens.
That is true. I will say though, if we are winning that game, if we win the first one, I'll feel a lot more confident. If we can win the first one, I think we can win the second one. One thing at a time, though.
Well, yeah, because City would have to push a lot of lines forward, and they would have to take a lot of risk. But yeah, there's a maturity and there's a knowing how to win this tournament that is very embedded in Real Madrid. We know how to be scrappy and survive. We have that attribute, but. Yeah, let's see how it goes. So your candidate to win the Champions League would be Bayern Munich right now.
I think Bayern Munich for me now. I'll be honest, when I took a look at this round of 16 draw, I can try to pull it up for us if you want me to as well.
Sure.
This draw is honestly just kind of insane with what we are seeing out there in terms of what Real Madrid has to do, and in terms of what everybody else gets to kind of do. Let me I'll pull it up real quick.
I mean, think about it. Barca gets, Newcastle, and which I think they could win, then they get Atletico de Madrid or Spurs. Come on, man. I mean, Barca is in the semis, a lot more. I mean, our path is brutal.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, our path is absolutely brutal. I mean, Real Madrid has to face off against Man City, and then the winner of Atalanta or Bayern Munich, which in all likelihood would be Bayern Munich.
Right.
And then you'd have to either face, I would guess,
PSG,
Chelsea, or Liverpool. Because I mean, even Galatasaray, that's incredibly hard. And I said it before, if Barcelona do not make it to the semifinals, shut the club down. That's crazy if they're not doing that. And same thing goes with Arsenal. They have to beat Bayer Leverkusen or Sporting or Bodo Glimt.
Arsenal is in the semis.
They should be.
I think Arsenal is in the semis, and I think that they're probably in the semis against Barca. I mean, the one thing that I'm hoping for is, because this year I find EPL clubs are always really competitive. But for some reason this year, I think English clubs look really strong to me. And the difference in physicality this year is more notable, even more noticeable than in other years. So I think that the hardest time Barca will have will probably be Newcastle. But I think Barca will make it through. And I think the semi will be Arsenal, Barca. And then we always have the worst path, always.
Always.
It's the draw from hell.
But, sometimes it makes the best story. Sometimes it makes that trophy even sweeter when we do it. So I know the last one was tough. I know the last couple have been tough. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, the 22 one was
crazy.
The 22 one was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in sports. I mean, that was insane. I remember a taxi driver in Madrid before PSG, when we had been paired up, but we hadn't played yet. And this guy goes, he was an Atletico de Madrid supporter, and he says, we were talking about the Champions League. He goes, Real Madrid is going to win the Champions League. I'm like, are you out of your mind? There's no way we get past PSG. There's no way we get past. And this guy said it, and when he said it, I thought he was totally out of his mind.
Yeah.
And we went on to do the absolutely impossible. So I don't know. Apparently, the harder it gets, the more we like it. It's crazy.
I do have one question for you though, and this is something that I've chatted about it before. If Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are playing each other, and the result favors us, would you ever root for Barcelona or Atletico Madrid if it would help Real Madrid?
I mean, look, between those two teams, there are different degrees of hate on the hate meter. And obviously Barca is at the very top. I just can't envision any situation where I would ever want Barca to win. It would be hard to imagine, very hard to imagine. I could never get myself to root for Barca in any capacity.
Well, if it would help, let's say Atletico Madrid's above us, and if Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid, and then Real Madrid can jump them,
if it were literally like to win the title, if Barca doesn't win this match, we win La Liga. If it were something very direct, then I would, but it would have to be very direct. It would have to be like a mathematical certainty that the Barca victory would make us champions, because Atleti, if we were competing with Atleti, for example, and Barca had to win for us to win La Liga, that would be the only circumstance by which I could physically get my body to accept this.
Fair enough. I was just curious.
I'd probably be in therapy for the next 3 months.
I was just curious, just because as a Madridista who's in Madrid, I was curious how it is there for you.
Yeah. It would have to be a very extreme circumstance, for sure.
Fair enough.
In terms of, your champion for the UCL, it would be Bayern Munich. That makes a lot of sense.
Who would you say?
Arsenal or PSG.
Okay. Yeah.
Arsenal or PSG. If Barca win it, I would probably go into very deep depression for a very long time. The only good thing that would come out of Barca winning a Champions League is that they would finally acknowledge our greatness, because I remember Xavi Hernandez, when he was manager of Barca a couple of years ago, saying, oh, well, it's harder to win La Liga because there are more matches, trying to devalue the Champions League simply because we had won so many. But they know that that's a lie, and they know that the biggest prize in world football is the Champions League. So the only good thing that would come out of Barca winning it would be their acknowledgement of, if you think 6 is interesting and exciting, imagine 15.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and how do you, okay, we're getting towards the end now. How do you think Arbeloa is doing so far?
I think he's actually been the perfect Real Madrid manager. And the reason why I say that, and when I say it, it sounds bad, right? He is like the ultimate yes man. And at Real Madrid, that's kind of what you need to be. You need to be a punching bag. You need to be taking the shots that the players would normally be taking. You need to be doing that. And so why I do think he's kissing ass a lot of the times when he's saying some of these things, that's the job at Real Madrid. If you lose a game at Real Madrid, like you and I, we've chatted about it. They want you out. Look at Xabi Alonso. We started fantastic. We were doing great. We were top of the world. Yeah. He's already out before, Valentine's Day, everything. So,
welcome to Madrid.
Exactly. But Arbeloa, he understands that. I think he's managing the players as well as he can right now. You're missing a ton of players out there. Some things I'd still like him to do better. I would like him to tell Kylian Mbappe crash the box. When he brings on Gonzalo Garcia, let's put him at the center forward position. I think so far he's instilled confidence in some of these players who might be lacking it. Vini Jr., Fede Valverde, some of these other players. And we're seeing also some chances for some of these younger academy players that I've been excited about. Thiago Pichard, Sestero, everybody else like that. Jimenez,
Yeah, he seems a lot, you're right. He seems a lot more kind of inclined to give these kids minutes. The other day I was surprised that he brought out the two young kids during the Benfica match. I mean, you kind of expect these players to come out like in a Liga match against Betis or something. But man, to throw them in the second leg of a Champions League, I thought that was pretty ballsy.
Yeah, I thought too. I was like, the cojones on this guy, especially in the first one. He put Thiago Pichard. That was his debut. And you're making your debut at Benfica in the Champions League game when you're only up 1-0. Yeah, I thought that was crazy from him. What's your thoughts about Thiago though? Like, do you? I mean, it's only been early, but
no, I have to be honest with you. I don't think that I've seen him play enough to really have a strong view, and I think you may have very well watched him play more than me. So I'm not. I think I would have to watch him play a little more. I do like the idea of having these players come up. I'm not so sure that I would utilize them in sort of really crucial moments. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's kind of a risky thing to do, but I do like that Arbeloa loves to push them up. In terms of Thiago specifically, I would have to watch him play more. I don't think I can sort of, speak in any kind of commanding way. I haven't seen enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now we can leave this conversation on like a crazy, impossible question.
Let's do it.
If you had to, I'm going to ask you something I don't even want to answer. So
great. Okay,
if you had to, if you had to get rid of either Kylian or Vini, which of the two would you let go of? And I confess, I don't even know what I think.
Vini. Honestly, it's in a second. I would be doing now. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I love Vini. He has brought us 2 Champions Leagues. He has scored in both those finals. He is an amazing player. He's on fantastic form. And so I understand saying that today. It doesn't sound good. And I understand Kylian Mbappe hasn't won anything at Real Madrid. He's never won the Champions League, everything like that. I believe in my heart of hearts that Mbappe is a better player than Vini Jr.
Yeah.
And I think that Mbappe would benefit from being on the left wing. Now, could you also say maybe Vini Jr. would benefit from not having Mbappe, would benefit from having a striker? Yeah. But I think Mbappe is just a better player. So I would be choosing the better player at the end of the day.
Okay, I think that is probably the most sensible answer that you could come up with here, because I think you're right. Kylian is a better finisher. He's a more consistent finisher, and a lot of the limitations that we're seeing and a lot of the frustrations we're seeing with Kylian is because he's playing in a position that is not his natural position. If Kylian were playing on the left but had the ability to drift in, I think he that would be Kylian at his prime, right? Mm-hmm. So no, I think that's probably the most sensible answer, and I'm probably inclined to agree with you. I think Vini's very irregular. He's more inconsistent. He's more volatile. He creates more distractions. He's not as consistent a finisher. There's a level of maturity in Kylian that you don't necessarily see in Vini. It's a tough question, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we covered a lot of stuff, Dali. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate these chats. I know they're hard to put together because we both have crazy schedules, but I really appreciate you coming on. And again, for anybody that listens to me, subscribe to Dali's channel. His content is fantastic, and just a great guy. So thank you very much for coming on, Dali.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much, mate. It's always a great time chatting with you. I appreciate you having me on your channel. You got to come on next time. You got to come on my channel next time. We got to do this again here in a little bit. But yeah, hopefully for us, Real Madrid can win Champions League. We can be winning La Liga. We can be celebrating. And maybe you and I can be smoking some stogies here in Madrid soon and celebrating. So
I would love that. I would love that, Dali. So let's repeat this soon. And I can't wait to get you in Madrid as well. But let's stay in touch and keep doing this. You're doing amazing work, and I love your content. So keep it up.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate you.
All right, brother. Take care. And as always, everybody, a la Madrid.
A la Madrid.